In this video, we're going to do more advanced ways of being able to enter a player name or ACBL number. Suppose, as an example, my name is Nicholas, and as I get to the third character, it does a search on the database. It's about 300,000 members, saying how many members have got a first name with that. Only when there's about 20 will it display a list. So there are still, once I type in a full name followed by the space, it then displays all the possible options. It'll be searching on first name, last name, so you see there's a couple of last names. It doesn't know when there's only one field what it's searching for. So now when I start to type in more information, it can search the database and display the two players that are of interest. Let's go ahead and delete that. Another way of searching, by the way, to follow along, underneath the help menu, we have a help just on how to enter the player names and numbers. Display that in a separate tab. This is definitely something that you should read. So the different ways we can type in a full player number with the first letter being the ACBL LifeMaster letter in upper or in lowercase. If you have some missing numbers or some numbers you can't read, which is far more common, the directors will tell you, than you would believe. So let's say, again, my number is 7371187. Supposing you could read the 73, but you weren't sure with the third digit. It could be a 7, it could be a 4, it could be an 8. I've seen so many different ways of writing numbers that it's unbelievable what is possible. Let's say you can read that it's 11, but you can't read the next two. Supposing you were to put in the number 73.11 ... It will list 737.11 ... Still too many. So supposing the last one is 7. Well, there are only 6 ACBL members that have got that as an option for their player number. The default search name, now this one is important. The default search name is by name, first or last. So again, going back to the example, when I type in Nicholas, it doesn't know, it's searching for both first name and last name. When I start to type in part of the first name and part of the second name, it is searching for anybody who has the letters NI in their first name. So it's matching Anita. The reason it doesn't match from the start is that you may have some players who are commonly known by their middle name, but their name in the ACBL member list might be, S. John Smith as an example. So their first name really starts with an S, but they always go by John. By searching for the first name with any combination of letters, so any name that has the NI in it is going to be matched. And for the last name, it has to start with the letter. Supposing I knew it started by using the comma, now I'm doing explicit. This is explicitly all of the members that start with the letter HAM, H-A-M-M, and then have N as their first initial. As I type more, it reduces the number of members that can be found. Supposing I know that the player lives in Georgia. So a semicolon allows you to type in a state or a city. In this case, it's important that you do not put a space in now, but you type in the 2-letter state. So in this case, it lists everybody who has NI as the first name, has a last name that starts with HAM. And the reason we don't do an exact match on the last name is quite often you can't read what that last name is, and you don't necessarily know the correct spelling. Supposing I knew which city they lived in. Once I type more than 3 letters, it starts searching for the city. So I live in Alpharetta, Georgia, and what it searched the entire database here is anybody whose first name has the letters NI and has HA as the start of their last name and lives in the city that has alpha in its name. And these are described in more detail in the help on how to enter player names and numbers. Once you know which player name that you want, you click on it and it will automatically select it. Let's say the next one, we can't read the number, but we know it's Ron Smith. Well, there are too many Ron Smiths to be named. So let's say, supposing notice the difference here. If I do space CA, it will not match anything. But if I type in CA as the state, there are 3 Ron Smiths or Ronald Smiths that are members in California. But let's say I can't read any more about the player number. The person just wrote down Ron Smith. There's an extra way. This screen will only display approximately 15 or 20 names that it matches, and it will display the message, too many entries, please continue typing, if it can't find a reasonable number. So if you want to look up a player number, there's underneath the utilities, there's lookup menu, lookup member. Let me bring this up in a separate tab. And this screen is similar to the previous screen. The difference is it will show you all the players. So if I wanted to look for anybody whose name has the word Ron and anybody whose last name starts with Smith, I can do a search and there's 37 members. Well, supposing I know it's a player with lots of points, I can search by master points, and there's a Ron Smith in Chicago with 32,000, a Ron Smith in Chattanooga with approximately 28,000, and a Ron Smith in Canada who has 6,500. So this is another screen of another way of being able to look up a member. In this case, it's going to display all the possible members that it can find. Just be aware the potential for this to be this could be a large number of members. So this is going to find all members whose last name is H and whose first initial is N. It will only display 500, so if there's more than 500, because it could potentially be displaying up to as many as 300,000. So in this case, there are 49 members who have an initial whose last name starts with the letter H and whose first name contains the letters NI. So this is a quick way of being able to find a member if you're lacking information on the player. What we can then do is, if we know a particular member, so I'll just copy the number and I can just paste it in there. So this covers ways of being able to enter hard to look up names. Anytime I want to delete, I just click on delete, and when I refresh the screen, it'll show me the fact that I'm still missing players from here. This is a gauge which will show we're expecting 65 players to be entered. We've only entered 7 so far.